we're going to get started. I'm just going to go through a couple of ground rules and kind of help give everyone a lay of the land and tell you what's going on here. Again, this is the Listing Mirror and Google Shopping Actions webinar. My name is Erin, and we have Shannon from Google also here as well. So in GoToWebinar, you should see an option to ask questions. So if at any point during the webinar you have a question about something that Shannon's talking about or something that I am talking about, please feel free to just add a question. If it's just like a general chat thing, I do see that we also have an option to add just like a chat. If it's maybe something that's not related to the webinar content, but maybe you're having trouble hearing or something, please feel free to ask questions there. And we will do our best to answer all the questions that come up. So we're going to start with Shannon kind of talking through the Google side of things. And then toward the end, I'm going to go through just a few things about how to integrate your existing Google Merchant Center with Listing Mirror and kind of what that process looks like. And then we should have plenty of time for questions at the end. I expect us to go maybe 30-ish minutes in the webinar content, and then we'll have time after that to answer your questions. So thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate having you here, and we're so glad that we have so many people excited about Google Shopping Actions. We just added the integration a couple weeks ago, and so we are learning quickly how everything fits together, and we're so glad to have Shannon here today to kind of talk us through the Google side of things, how stuff fits together, and make sure that everyone is set up for success to be able to sell effectively on Google Shopping. So Shannon, go ahead and take it away.
Great, thanks Erin. You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, I want to echo what Erin said just in terms of a big thanks. I know it's a crazy time, so appreciate you spending part of your morning with us this morning. I'm excited to share what we're up to at Google Shopping. Hopefully you've seen a lot of news lately. We have more announcements to come. So I will share a bit about what that looks like, how you can participate, and let's dive in. Feel free, as Erin said, to ask questions along the way too. So I'm going to start out by sharing what's new. Hopefully you saw our unpaid listing announcement. I'll share a bit more about what that means and how you can participate. And then how do you opt into unpaid listings? What does that mean in terms of unpaid versus shopping ads, which you may or may not be familiar with already? And then shopping actions, how does that layer in? Why you should participate in shopping actions and how you go about doing so. And then Erin will talk a bit about getting started, and I'll share some tips for success. And then, like we said, we have plenty of time for Q&A at the end. So with that, let's dig in. So the Google Shopping mission is to build delightful experiences that bring users, retailers, and manufacturers together throughout the shopping journey. So, just like Google is trying to organize the world's information, Google Shopping is trying to organize the world's offers and connect users to those offers wherever they are in the shopping journey. So that means if they're in the research phase looking to, figure out what TV they're interested in buying or what makes the most sense for them, or they're trying to get inspired, or if they're ready to actually, flip the switch and make that purchase right then. So the goal is to try and fill all of those needs and help users, fill those needs specifically on Google. Meanwhile, bringing retailers, manufacturers, and brands, the opportunity to reach those users wherever those users are. So one of the big ways that we have empowered our retailers to take advantage of this is by opening things up. And so hopefully you've seen these headlines, it's now free to sell on Google. And what this really means is, in the past, to participate in Google Shopping from a product perspective, if you wanted to have your individual product showing up on Google, you had to participate in PLA, product listing ads. So that was an advertising product, still is. We still have PLA, still a very big business for us and very successful for a lot of businesses. But not everyone could participate because you have to bid on a, typically it's the cost per click basis, and PLA has gotten quite expensive. And so what that meant is that all the offers that we had on Google were from really large retailers. And so if the mission is to organize all the offers out there, we needed to make this a much more level playing field. And so in order to, so one of the big ways that we're doing that is to make it free. You don't have to bid, you just send us your product data, and then we'll, when users are in, again, those different phases of the shopping journey, whenever we think that there's a good match, we'll surface the right products for them. And so we hope then what this does is, especially for the smaller and medium-sized businesses, provides another avenue to participate on, as a sales channel. And this, I think this was sort of alluded to in some of the articles, but this was actually a launch that we were planning on making later in the year, but we've pulled it forward because of the pandemic situation, and we know there's a lot of companies out there who are looking for a sales channel, are being suppressed elsewhere, have inventory, and just don't have a good way to surface it. So we hope that this gives you, I don't know if anyone's participating already, but this is a great opportunity to take advantage of free traffic that will send users back to your website, in a completely free manner. And if you haven't seen this already yourselves, I hope you will check out the shopping property, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. So how does this unpaid listings or the free listings fit into everything that Google has to offer? This is my first attempt at laying this all out side by side, so you'll have to let me know if this helps. But so you're a merchant, you want to sell on Google. What are your options? If you want the users to purchase on your website, you have two options right now to do so. The first is the free listing. So again, you get free impressions and clicks that will lead back to your website and gives you access to users looking for products. That's pretty straightforward, I think. We also still have Google Ads, shopping ads, so that's the product listing ads. And this is essentially the same thing as the free listing ads, but you're just paying to give yourself a boost in impressions. And those are those carousels that you see at the top of google.com, the shopping tab, and image search, and a couple other places. So those are those product listing carousels. You pay per click, to put ads in those carousels. Those are the product listing ads. And then the third option we have, and that's what we're going to talk more about today, is shopping actions. And on shopping actions, a user doesn't get sent off to your website, but they actually purchase on Google. And so this is more of our marketplace type offering where the transactions happen on a Google hosted product page. A user can add products from a variety of different merchants into a universal shopping cart, and then it works on a pay-per-sale model. So it's a commission-based offering that you get charged after the sale actually happens. So that's how these three, and you are free to participate in any or all that makes sense for you. I'm going to show you what this looks like. So what does a user see? So this is the previous experience. If I did a search for Nike running shoes, the previous experience, the first thing you would see here is sometimes this little shopping actions section would show at the top. The shopping actions results are always indicated by this little colorful shopping cart. So if you play around, you see the shopping cart. What that means is if you click on that listing, it's going to open up on one of those Google hosted product pages. It's not going to send you off to a website. Those are all shopping actions products. And then below that, everything before was ads. So that entire shopping property, that shopping tab that's linked directly from google.com was, almost all ads, and sometimes the shopping actions unit would trigger. And so what we've done now after this launch of unpaid listings is we've tried to create more of a blended experience similar to google.com, where you have ads at the top, a lot of organic listings, and then ads sometimes at the bottom. That's sort of the direction we're heading with this new experience. So on the right-hand side, what you see now is what you'll see today. If you do a search for Nike running shoes, this is often what prompts, though it does change, based on relevance and personalization. So you might not get these exact results, but hopefully something like this, where you see that PLA carousel, the ads carousel at the top, that's going to remain there. We have a shopping actions unit that triggers next, and that will trigger only when we have a product that's relevant, that we believe that user is likely to click on and make the purchase. And then below that, you see it now says about versus sponsored, and that means that all of those listings are now free. That's where all the unpaid listings come in. So again, I hope you see that this looks a lot more like google.com, and we're going to continue to push it in that direction, where we're curating hopefully the world's largest catalog of offers into a nice experience that users can filter and get personalized recommendations that are very relevant to them. And as a seller, you have different options to participate in showing up on this page. So I hope that's clear. Again, if there's any questions, feel free to add them in. We can address them now or later. I also want to mention one of the newer properties or new experiences we've built. This launched late last year, and we're still working on it, is a new shopping homepage and app. So if you go directly to shopping.google.com right now, you'll see something that looks probably what you see on the left-hand side. This is my screenshot from yesterday. Again, this changes every day and based on what you're looking for. Yes, I have a daughter. I'm looking to keep entertained, so I've got some little toddler toys here showing up in the middle. And on the right-hand side, this is what I saw yesterday on the Google Shopping app. And so this is all personalized, inspired by your own Google activity across the web. We're going to be layering in more personalization here. The idea is to make this highly, highly relevant over time so that we're pushing you ideas that you might not have even thought of, recommendations even from friends, etc. So there's a lot we can do here, and we've only just begun, just really scratched the surface. And you can see here too that shopping actions units are actually featuring very prominently on this homepage. All four of these products that you can see here all have that little colorful cart icon, which means that they're shopping actions products. So I encourage you to check that out or play around if you haven't done so. If you don't have the Google Shopping app, we will be making a much bigger play on the app over time. It has gone through this kind of initial makeover, but there will be a lot more to come on the app. So I would encourage you to just to get familiar with that, to download and play around. Okay, so now I'm going to go more into shopping actions in particular. Hopefully you see how shopping actions fits into our user experiences and alongside our unpaid listings and ads. Now I'm going to go deeper into what is shopping actions, how does it work, how do you participate? So the vision of shopping actions is to create a frictionless, personalized shopping experience across Google surfaces. So you can see that colorful cart icon on the bottom that designates, this is a buy on Google product. We are live on shopping actions across a variety of places, from google.com. Sometimes you will see that little icon show up when you do a search on google.com. It's definitely on the shopping property, that tab that links directly from google.com. Also just note, if you're ever looking at that PLA carousel from google.com and you click the right arrow button, it automatically puts you into that Google Shopping tab to continue your shopping search. And so we get the shopping property is a huge, hugely daily active user property and growing. And again, we're going to continue to find ways to push users into that shopping experience and to enhance the experience once they get there. So that's a prominent place today where you'll see the shopping actions unit show up. We're also live in a limited capacity on image search. So PLAs are live there, as well as the shopping actions units. YouTube is a really interesting one. We're only in a very small pilot there with Nike, but you can imagine, so the experience on YouTube is such that you're watching a video, you see a cool product, that product appears right below the video, you can add it to cart and check out without the video ever stopping. So I think there's massive opportunity here, for especially in key categories. If you think like fashion or beauty, how-to, DIY, there's all kinds of categories that are just huge on YouTube that have kind of corresponding products that relate to them. And so big opportunity. We're still at like day one here. We're only live on a couple videos, and we're working out a lot of the background mechanics and plumbing and how do we make this all work. But stay tuned there, because that is a big bet for us on shopping actions, and it will require the shopping actions unit to facilitate that kind of seamless end-to-end checkout experience that we're hoping to deliver to users. And then finally, I mentioned the app, and I showed you how some products are showing up from shopping actions on the app. And then finally, on the assistant, so anytime you opt your products into shopping actions, you actually are also eligible to be live on the Google Assistant. So you can fully check out by saying, "Okay, Google, buy paper towels." My phone, it's prompting my phone to wake up here. And then voice will prompt you through the entire checkout process. I will say this is very, a lot of users play around with this. We don't see a huge amount of transaction volume yet coming through voice. Lots of people use this to do research, to build shopping lists. And as prominence of screen-based assistants like the Home Hub and others are gaining prominence and sitting in the home with the screen accompanying voice, we do think that this will continue to grow. So if you can play around on this already, if you have a Home Hub, you say, "Okay, Google, buy something," and then it will pull up options for you on the screen, and you can interact completely through voice. And again, if you have it linked with your payment credentials, you can even fully check out. So pretty cool experience. So again, it's still small and sort of emerging, but interesting that we have it all connected so that as this continues to grow, there's nothing you have to do to be able to take advantage of voice commerce. So this is the buy flow of shopping actions. I mentioned it's a Google hosted product page. So this is an example. I did a search for Beats by Dre Solo Black. That first option there is a shopping actions option. I then click on it. It opens up the next screenshot, which is the PDP. It gives me all the color details and prices. This one says it ships and sold by Best Buy. So we're prominently featuring, our retailers. And then the next screenshot is if I keep scrolling, it says more buying options. These are other places I can make this purchase and nearby stores that carry this product. And then finally, the last screenshot here is the cart where I have the Beats by Best Buy in my cart along with an Instapot by Target. And so this is that example of a universal checkout or a universal cart that you can keep adding products to a cart and then check out with just a couple clicks, all at once when you're ready. So that's the buy flow, I think pretty standard, kind of marketplace-like buy flow. From a benefit standpoint, just a few key areas to hit on for shopping actions in particular. So I do want to mention, prominent merchant branding. I know this is important to a lot of merchants. You are allowed to ship out of your own branded boxes. We are prominently featuring, the merchants. We're not trying to become a retailer or get in the way of that. So I know a lot of our sellers today really like that. We're also helping users to reorder if it's a replenishable type item or to build their basket. So you can set your own minimum thresholds for free shipping. $35 seems to be the most common that we see. And if somebody has something in their cart for, $25, we'll then prompt them with other items that are kind of related to what they've bought around that $10 mark to help them build their basket to get free shipping. So that's all built into the system. We do operate on a pay-per-sale model. Like I mentioned before, it's all commission-based. I'll flash the commission rates later, and you can also search for this, just shopping actions commission rates. It's posted on a publicly available page. Our commission rates are generally deemed as favorable. They range from 5 to 15%, with 12 being about the most common. And I don't ever hear any complaints. Usually the commissions are lower than what others are charging. We know we're new, we're emerging here, and we're interested in getting sellers into the platform. And then finally, actionable insights. So the Google Merchant Center is where a lot of the reporting lives today. We are working to make that available through APIs so that Listing Mirror and others can integrate those into their own consoles if they wish. But there are a lot of good reports already available today sitting inside Merchant Center, and that goes for shopping actions and also for unpaid listings. So if you do opt your products into unpaid, you'll also get some impression and click reports available inside Merchant Center. So hopefully you're thinking, this sounds interesting. Maybe I'd participate. I didn't know much about shopping actions before. We haven't done a lot of press for shopping actions. For a long time, it was a whitelist only program. So I do want to just share, we do have close to 5,000 retailers and brands live on the platform already today. A lot of the larger guys included like a Target, Overstock, we've got Costco, Nike, Levi's, et cetera, et cetera. And what we're really looking to do now is to further build out our catalog. So we're trying to fill in the gaps, where they exist. And so if you're a seller who does or doesn't have good brand recognition, that's okay by us. We're just looking for good products that ship, fairly quickly. So 2 to 3 day fulfillment, ideally, that, will treat our Google users in a way that we, hope that they'd be treated. So these are the categories where we're particularly doubling down: electronics, home and garden, health and beauty, baby and kids, and toys goes in there. And apparel, I want to mention, apparel really means more like basics, so kind of mass purchase apparel. We're also strong in accessories and shoes. And so continuing to look at those, but higher end brands, are tougher for us right now. But things that kind of have like wide mass appeal at lower end or like mid-range price points are kind of the sweet spot, particularly within apparel. And then a couple other categories that do well that aren't specifically listed here, we haven't really doubled down on them, but they just tend to do well naturally, are vitamins, pet supplies, and then seasonal type items. So anything, and that includes holiday related as well, but even just seasonal ski equipment or summer pool type equipment, that also tends to do really well.
Shannon, this might be this might be a good place to just ask a couple of questions. So we've gotten 2 different similar questions, more about like what do you restrict? So are there any brand restrictions or product restrictions right now?
That is a great question, and I have that right here. So,
perfect.
If you look on the right-hand side of this chart, this is unsupported content. So we don't have any brand restrictions in place, but there's definitely product restrictions. Also, any product restrictions that you've ever encountered when wanting to run Google Ads still apply. Shopping Actions adheres first to the Google Ads policies and then a bit more. So we definitely see that where somebody thinks, oh, I was disapproved on Shopping Ads, but now I'd like to try to get in a different way. That's not going to work. There are some other just unsupported content things it's not really restricted. We just don't support it right now, so you can't add it into the program. But I'll hit on a couple items here. Personalized or custom products. Refurb, I want to mention we don't officially allow refurb, but we are in a limited electronics beta right now for refurb. So it's like invitation only, but it just shows we will be expanding this over time. So right now we don't like widely support refurb, but hopefully that changes. And then you can see some of the others here. So hopefully that addresses that question. Anything adult related or weaponry, I think all Google's fairly conservative, I would say. So, and I have a link to all the full details here. So you'll have this presentation afterwards. You can dig deeper. Before you do the integration, you should definitely make sure that your products will be approved, because we don't tell you that until after you've done the full integration. So make sure you look closely at what isn't allowed and isn't supported. Erin, does that answer the question, you think?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and the last thing that you said, I think, was like the only question I had is at what point in the process are you guys looking at the products that the seller has? So that's good to know as well.
Yeah, it's at the end, and we will disapprove on a product level. So it's not like your entire account gets disapproved. If you upload a whole bunch of stuff and maybe we don't allow, a subset of it, those are the things that just won't show. Any other questions, Erin?
I think there's a lot coming in right now, so I think I'll just keep kind of trying to keep track of them, and then we can go over it at the end.
Okay, sounds good. All right, we only have a few slides left here anyway, and then we can get to the questions. So here's a bit on eligibility. Again, please be clear up front as to what you need to do. I don't want you to go through all of the pain of trying to onboard and then not be able to. Eligibility is fairly straightforward. You have to have a registered US account. You also have to have somebody in your company that has a valid government US issued ID. Inventory that's free of the restricted products, that's what's mentioned here. Ads plus the unsupported content is what you need to be aware of. You have to meet certain, return and customer support SLAs listed here. Returns for at least 30 days on most items. You have to be able to process a refund within 2 days, and then all the other ads policies. So again, there's 2 links here. I would definitely take a look at those.
Okay, I'm jumping in with another question.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. On eligibility, a question we got is, when you say a business has to be incorporated, does that mean that it has to be an LLC, or a sole proprietorship would be okay as well? Like, how do you define that?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be an official LLC, I don't think. It just has to be US registered.
Okay. Great, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Okay. here are the commission rates. I mentioned I would flash these up. It's gonna, probably take you some time to figure out where you fall. I have linked here as well. And as I mentioned, you can do a search for Shopping Actions commission rates, and you'll be able to see all of this in the Help Center external page. The one thing that is also worth noting is that we have a retailer standards program. This is, like a seller standards program. And if you reach the top level of that, you become a top retailer, you actually get commission discounts on qualifying orders. So up to 20% discount on top of those commission rates that I flashed before. So those full details, published online, but just so you know that there are even further discounts available on what I would consider pretty favorable commission rates. So hopefully the commission is not going to stop you from signing up to the program. And then just a couple quick case studies. So here's one for Lala Daisy. They're a makeup company. They launched on Shopping Actions and saw 15% increase in total sales volume coming from Google. And now they're saying about 12% of their overall monthly sales comes from Google Shopping Actions alone. This is before unpaid listings was even, in the mix. And so I think that's about right. I just want to set expectations up front that this isn't going to become, your next massive sales channel right out of the gate. We are still, Shopping Actions is still relatively new. We're still working to ramp it up. We're still finding additional placements and tuning the algorithms. But you should expect, I think somewhere in this range, like 10, 15, 20% max of your total sales volume to come from Google Shopping Actions. So hopefully meaningful and worthwhile to you, but it will ramp and scale over time. That's truly our intention. And as I mentioned, there will be further announcements related to Shopping Actions as we go through the summer months that will make the program hopefully even more attractive for you. And then here's another example of Ambush Board Company. That's a skateboarding company. They were already running shopping ads, and then they layered in Shopping Actions as well, and they saw a big bump in their overall conversions coming from Google when they looked at the programs holistically, both shopping ads and Shopping Actions. And so I do get that question a lot. If I'm running ads, does it make sense to run Shopping Actions? And I think it's something to test out. And something to try, because there are different placements, as you saw on the page. Certain users are going to be attracted to checking out on Google, maybe more so than being sent off to a merchant site. And the program will evolve over time, so to be participating in it probably does make sense. Okay, how do I get started? So I'll just tee this up and then I'm going to hand it over to Erin to get into some details. But if you want to opt into free listings or participate in Shopping Actions or both, the first thing you need to do is to create a Google Merchant Center account. That's basically where you register yourself as a business with Google. You may already have this done. A lot of businesses out there have done this at some point. Maybe you were testing out ads. And you can leverage that same Merchant Center account. All the options are available inside there. And then again, in both cases, you need to send us your product feed. And that's where Listing Mirror can help you hopefully do so. But that product feed is what gives us all of your product information. And again, that lives inside Merchant Center. And then for the free listings, you just opt into what's called Surfaces across Google. That's our nomenclature for organic or unpaid. And on the Shopping Actions side, you opt into Shopping Actions, and then you have a few additional steps to configure, your settings, and then to make sure that orders integration is all set up. So I'm going to hand it over to Erin now to go through some further steps on the Shopping Actions side. Once, how do you actually get this set up for Shopping Actions? But again, if you're going to do that, please go ahead and also opt into free listings. You might as well, if you have a website to send users off to. Erin, over to you.
Yep, great, thank you. Yeah, so I think we have a decent amount of existing Listing Mirror clients here on the webinar, which is awesome. But I know that we also have some people coming that may be interested in using Listing Mirror. So just to explain what the value that we have in this process is that we can help you create these listings on Google Shopping Actions very, very seamlessly. We can send all of your listing data that's existing from another channel over to Google Shopping Actions and get your listings up there live very, very quickly. And so that is kind of the value that we bring to it. And so if you are using Listing Mirror, this is how you'll go about adding your credentials for your Google Shopping Actions or your Google Merchant Center to your Listing Mirror account. So in the integrations drop down, you're just going to select channel integrations and then just click on the little Google logo, which should be pretty familiar to you, just a little circle there. And then the next step is going to be, could you just forward the next slide, Shannon? Thanks. The next step is just going to be making sure that you have your sales tax settings set up in your Google Merchant account. So in order to access that, once you're in the Merchant Center, there's a little wrench at the top of your screen. You're going to click into that and you'll see an option to select sales tax. You're going to want to make sure that you select one of the bottom two sales tax options from the 3 options that are available, and that's just going to be dependent on what you need to do in order to comply with what you need to in your own state. So then you'll save those, and the next step is going to be making sure that you have your shipping and your returns set up properly. So what this will allow us to do is be able to make sure that your the settings for your shipping are attributed to each of the listings that you set up. So you're going to, again, click on the little tool in the right-hand corner, click shipping and returns, and then you're going to add shipping services. So you can set up as many as you want to, and this is, I would say, like the more simple version of it. You can set up one shipping service option if you just want to show like something very basic. Maybe the way that you ship is different each time, but you just want people to know that you're going to get their order to them quickly. Then maybe you just set up something that says priority shipping or something. Or maybe you want to go through a little bit more, setting up something in a little bit more detail. So you can set up as many shipping services as you want. And then in your Listing Mirror account, you will apply those to either each listing, or you can set up rules to apply them to different kinds of listings, maybe a different category or whatever. You can set that up with the rules through your Listing Mirror account. Won't get into all those details, but just so you know, the option is there. The next, oh yeah, and then this is related to it as well. This is making sure that you have a, that you're selecting a service area for your, in your service settings. When you go to set up the shipping options, you need to have at least one shipping service. I guess I kind of already said this, one shipping service applied that will apply to all of your listings automatically, and then you can go through and select other ones listing by listing. And then if you are someone who is using a third-party service for your order fulfillment, you do want to make sure that you go into your account, and I realize now I have an arrow on accept orders, so that basically is just allowing Listing Mirror to accept an order for you so that it can be filled. So it's just kind of a check. Maybe Shannon, you would know this specific thing. Does Google require that every order is accepted by either the client or the whatever service provider they're using?
I don't know offhand in terms of like.
That's okay. I'm assuming that is true, especially because that's an option that we have here in our account. So for some marketplaces, you have to the merchant has to accept each order that comes through. So sometimes you can select to accept those manually, but we can also accept them automatically for you as long as you have inventory in stock. So we can do that for you. And then you would also then have the option of auto-filling your orders. So if you have a third-party service set up, we can work on auto-filling your orders for you, and that would also be something that you can set up in your channel integration settings for Google. And then finally, if there are any things that are not making sense, any questions that you have, or if you just want to get started with using Listing Mirror, the best and easiest way to get in touch with us is to email us, support@listingmirror.com. If for some reason you aren't able to get things set up the way that you think that you should be able to, or if you're looking for more technical knowledge about how everything fits together, you can email us to find out more.
Great, thanks, Erin. And then I just want to cover a couple tips for success before we open it up for questions. So this really is to try and make sure that you're setting yourself up for success right out of the gate. The first is to maximize your assortment. So I know a lot of times marketplace sellers are used to adding in like 1 or 2 SKUs, seeing what happens, and then broadening from there. That doesn't really work so well with our system. So because we're constantly trying to figure out what query is going to trigger which product and then continue to refine that and optimize that over time, the bigger the amount of assortment we have to work with from you, the better. So I know it's counterintuitive a lot of times, but it's actually better to enter a lot of assortment and then watch what happens. And if you want to pare back from there, that's fine. But what we see a lot of times is people start with a really small number of SKUs and then get very few or no impressions at all. And that's because our system doesn't have enough information to work with. So give us everything you can from the beginning, and then pare back if you need to from there. The next tip is to compete on price. So this is, a universal, I think, but we do obviously are constantly running algorithms, and the sellers that have the best prices, have a bigger chance of winning that buy box. And we also have a promotional feature. This is the same promotional tools that we use on the ad side, where you can offer like strike-through pricing or a little blurb that says, 10% off or 20% off. And so that you can also compete on price by adding in promotions on top of your typical prices. And that's a good way, especially at the beginning, to boost yourself and get some initial impressions. Shipping, I mentioned, we're looking just for sellers who can offer predictable, fast, and reliable shipping. 2 to 3 days is sort of what we're hoping for. And then finally, monitoring performance. So, those reports that we give you in Merchant Center, and again, if you maximize everything and then monitor and make changes, I think that's really the better way to work with the Google system than to just start small and build from there. And that's all. I hope that you learned a lot, might have a lot of questions, it sounds like. Erin, I can't see the questions, so hopefully you can read some of those out, but I'm happy to take those and address anything that I can. And if I can't, I'll be happy to follow up through Erin as well.
Yeah, cool. Thank you so much. And this is like incredibly helpful and so exciting to hear just all the things that Google's doing. I'm especially excited actually about the YouTube thing, because I just feel like if I'm watching like a review for something and I can go and buy the product right there, I mean, that just seems like a really, really nice way to purchase something. So yeah, I'm excited to see this grow and expand. So yeah, we do have a ton of questions. So hopefully we can get through all of them. First question that I have here is, can I link buyers to my Amazon storefront, or does it have to be an actual web store like through Shopify or WooCommerce or what have you?
Yes, you cannot direct users to Amazon. You can direct them to your own website, or you just use Shopping Actions and you don't need a website. You can just have all the products hosted on Google Pages. For unpaid listings, though, you do need some sort of a web presence right now. And then that does have to link back to a site, and it cannot be an Amazon page.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then how about product reviews? The specific question says, how do we get our product reviews to show up on Google? So I'm assuming that this means like, how do we get them connected to the listings that we have listed?
Yeah, so you actually can't control that. Google will pull in product reviews from across the web. And so what you see today when you go to a Google page and you see reviews on there, that has been sourced either through data providers that Google's licensing, or from crawling information, like crawling reviews from across the web. And so we compile all of those and present like a combined overarching review to the users based on all the information that we've collected about that product. So the seller doesn't have any control over it.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. The next question I see here, I'm pretty sure I can answer. Someone's asking, can we set up a Google Shopping Actions without having the Merchant Center account? But it sounds like no, that wouldn't be possible.
Correct. You have to register yourself with Google as a business. You have to accept the Shopping Actions terms of service in there, and then set up those settings that you showed, Erin, like the shipping, return, and like just some basic setup settings.
Right, yeah. So I guess kind of along the same lines, are there, we had another question about just like validation. So you have to have a US validated business. So does that mean that there are no like international businesses allowed at this point?
We have, it's a great question. We have very few cross-border trade sellers right now. We do have a couple corridors, we call them open. So like China into the US, India into the US, Canada into the US. So if you are one of those businesses, there's a slightly separate process to get set up. You have to be whitelisted. It's still kind of that invitation only. We're being really cautious with cross-border trade, particularly from Asia, just to control quality on the platform right now. But if you are one of those international sellers from one of those 3 countries I mentioned, then Erin, maybe they can get in touch with you and you can put them in touch with me directly and we can figure out
Sure.
if we can whitelist you. But otherwise, and I would say like there's really a very small number to date. But yeah, so it's primarily US based businesses selling to US consumers.
Okay, yeah, that's great to know. Someone else asked, probably along the same lines, is does Google plan to launch this service in the UK?
Not right now. We are going to be launching unpaid listings globally to 48 countries by end of year. But the shopping actions particular service, we're live in France, but there's no plans outside of that to announce at this point.
Okay. Another like future plans question. Are there plans for Google to have a fulfillment center or to have any sort of way of storing inventory, kind of like what Amazon does?
Oh, fulfillment. We've played around with so many. We've tried a bunch of different things and constantly exploring different things, but at this point, no, there's nothing just to announce or to even really mention. I mean, fulfillment's top of mind. Clearly, we know it's an enabler for a lot of small business, and clearly it's a huge aspect of Amazon's success, but we are not planning to replicate that model at this point.
Okay. A question about listings. So someone here says that they're already selling on Google Shopping Actions. The listings that they have are only showing one image, and that's the main image on their site that they use for Google and also for Walmart. Is there something that you're working on to show all of the images of the product and just instead of just the main image?
Oh, yes, we definitely show more than one image. I don't know if that's based on what you're passing to us, but you are able to share all of your images into Merchant Center. So it sounds like that could be maybe just a setup issue.
Yes. Okay. So if you are having problems with this, please do contact us, support@listingmirror.com. If for some reason all of your images are not making it to Google and you're using Listing Mirror, or if you're using another service, certainly get in touch with us. We can definitely pass as many images as are allowed by Google onto the Google Merchant Center. So definitely get in touch with us about that if you're having problems.
Yeah, you asked. That's something we can solve.
Yeah. Okay, what is the advantage of paid ad boosting? Do you get approved for pay per sale?
So if you run paid ads, the product listing ads, you pay on a cost per click basis. And the benefit there is you just have control over, you have more control over how often you'll show because you're willing to put, bids behind it. So you will get a lot more impressions if you bid on PLA versus just putting your products there for unpaid listings or even just for shopping actions, because you're willing to put some funds behind that to say, hey, boost my my listings, when relevant. So I think the benefit is just you'll just get a lot more impressions, but you have to pay for it, and it is a cost per click basis. So it's up to you to then convert that customer after we send them off to your site.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I just saw, let's go back to talking a little bit about the, hang on, sorry, I lost the question. Are there, talking about fulfillment, are there any, right now, are there any restrictions that you have on fulfillment providers?
No, there's no, the only thing is we don't support freight delivery, but that will likely change soon. But otherwise, no restrictions.
Oh, okay, all right, cool. Let's see here. Could you also just clarify the Google Shopping name? Is it the same as Google Express? Is it what Google Express became? I always get confused about that too, so.
Yeah, it's a good question. I purposefully excluded Express because I used to talk about it a lot, and Express no longer exists. So Express was sort of the predecessor to Shopping Actions, or I guess Shopping Actions lived exclusively on the Express property for a while. So Express was, I mean, many things over time. It actually initially launched as a fulfillment from store. Like we'd have people standing outside of a Walgreens, for example, with a Google Express van and a Google Express shirts, waiting for orders to come in. Then they'd go pick off the shelves, kind of like an Instacart, and then go and deliver it to somebody's front door. And then that evolved into, we had and all of the products were bought on a site called express.google.com. And then we did away with the from store fulfillment, and it became just like an e-commerce play. But we've deprecated the express.google.com site entirely, and that now if you go there, it will just reroute you into the shopping.google.com site. And so Express, just as a property or as a concept, no longer really exists anymore. We've taken all the e-commerce pieces that we used on that site and built them into the shopping property and elsewhere to power shopping actions.
Okay, yeah, that definitely helps.
Yeah. It's an evolution, I guess.
Right, yeah. Yeah, which when you're in it, I'm sure doesn't seem so as confusing, but you know, if you're someone that's just kind of observing from afar and they're like, hang on a second.
Yeah,
sure that name changed.
Yeah, and a lot of people didn't even know what Google Express was, so that's why I don't usually go there unless there's a question, because I don't want to cause any additional confusion.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, do we have to have certain annual sales volume to qualify? Hang on a second, just trying. Well, okay, so answer that part, because I think that's the gist of the question. Is there a certain, how do you qualify, basically?
Yeah, no, there's no qualifications or minimum thresholds or anything. We're, as I mentioned, we're actually particularly interested in bringing in the smaller, small and medium-sized businesses to round out our assortment and give users a full breadth of what's available out there. So as long as you meet those eligibility requirements and you have products that are supported, or per that one slide that I had flashed, you're welcome to send us your products, and hopefully we'll show them and get you some sales.
Okay. Oh my goodness, there's just so many questions coming in, which is amazing. I'm really happy for it, but I feel like I'm trying to kind of like sort through them, and then we have more coming in. It seemed like there are still a decent amount of questions about kind of like how to get set up. So maybe you could just speak to like how do people practically apply? Do they just go to the website? Do they need to talk to somebody at Google? Yeah.
Yeah, to get set up, just go to Merchant Center. So Google Merchant Center, open up a Merchant Center account if you don't already have one. And that's, again, where you register your business. So you essentially establish yourself as a registered business with Google. We will validate that through, your ID and bank account information. And then from there, once you've become a registered business, you'll have all the options to opt into different programs. So inside Merchant Center, you'll be able to opt into surfaces across Google. That's how you opt into the organic or unpaid listings. You can opt into shopping actions, and then you go through all the setup there. Once you do that, you'll then connect it back to Listing Mirror. And you can even opt into shopping ads if you want. So all of it is through Merchant Center. There's very robust documentation online around Merchant Center. It's been around a long time because it's been powering ads for a decade. So you just set yourself up and then opt into the different programs and follow the prompts to opt into unpaid and then shopping actions. and then just go into the Listing Mirror console to link and push your products through Listing Mirror into Merchant Center.
Yeah, perfect. So I have a couple questions here that are just kind of like about the Listing Mirror side of things and kind of how to get set up and how things are going to fit together. So one of the questions I'm seeing is specifically about how the Google Shopping, like us sending products to Google Shopping Actions, will interfere with the link between a Shopify store and the Google Shopping, the free ad side of things. So I don't know, I'm mostly just like thinking out loud here. I don't think that there should be any interference. Either someone is going to see your buy on Google and click that button and purchase through Google, or they might see your free ad and get forwarded to your Shopify store. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, that's right. I will clarify too, I don't think I said this, but the product feed that you send to the Merchant Center can then be leveraged for the different programs as well. So it's all based on one product feed. You can then opt that product feed into being eligible for services across Google or the unpaid stuff, and then you can also leverage it for shopping actions. So again, the Merchant Center is sort of the hub of the relationship between Google and Merchant. And then that product feed is all the product data that you want to send to us. And then you just opt it into different programs. If you're opted into 2 programs, then yes, you'll have more eligibility to show, based on the different units that we have on the page, the unpaid or the shopping actions. I mean, if you have a Shopify site, that's totally fine. Again, it's one product feed coming into Merchant Center. And so you can control who sends us that product feed, if you want Shopify to send it or you want Listing Mirror to send it. But that's how we know, the products that you want to show. And then if it's for unpaid, you would link it to your website so that we know, hey, if somebody clicks on this, they get sent, to that page on your website.
Okay. Yeah, I think that helps. And truth be told, if you're anything like me, you're just going to have to do it. You're just going to have to try it and kind of see how it fits together and make sense of it once you get there, because having so many avenues for accomplishing the same thing is incredibly powerful, but also it's kind of like necessary complexity, right? Like you want it to be how it is because that's how you make the sales that you do, but it just takes a lot longer to kind of wrap your brain around it and become efficient at the process. So I would highly encourage everyone to just try it out, see how it works, and take Shannon's advice that way. And then you can always, like she said earlier, you can always scale back, but there's no harm in giving it a try as well. Oh my goodness, let's see here. So I have a couple questions about, and I'll just answer this. I have questions about setting up your account in Listing Mirror to be able to add Google Shopping Actions. So some of you might have noticed that you can't add it on your current plan, and that is because we recently changed our pricing structure. So while we used to be completely based on just the number of SKUs that you have in your Listing Mirror account, we've switched to being more feature-based pricing so that you're paying for the features that are most useful for you. We really want to make sure that Listing Mirror is bringing as much value as we can to your business. And so that is why, if you are seeing that, it means that you're on our older pricing scale and that we're wanting you to upgrade to the new pricing in order to have all of the features that you need. And then you will also be able to add Google Shopping Actions to your Listing Mirror account. So it's not so much that you're being restricted because you can't add any more channels. You can add unlimited channels. It's just a matter of we want you to upgrade to our new pricing so that you're getting the features that you need, and then you can add the channel. So there are none of our plans, none of our current plans exclude the Google Shopping Actions channel. It's just a matter of making sure that you're on the correct pricing format, which we just pushed, I think, in February. So it hasn't been super long. If you've been around for a while, you probably are on an older plan. So the way that you can handle that is you can just email me, Erin@listingmirror.com, or support@listingmirror.com, either way. And we can make sure to get you set up with the setup team, the onboarding team, the sales team, to make sure that you can get that handled. Let's see, we're almost coming up on the hour here. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy to see so much interest here. Let's see if we can just find a couple more topics that we haven't covered yet. Does Google Shopping or the Google Merchant Center have an order and shipping control panel? Can you see the orders that are coming through?
Yes, you'll be able to see the orders. Within the shopping actions reporting section, you can see the orders.
Okay, could you possibly do order fulfillment right through that panel, like put in the tracking number and all of that?
Yes, I think you can. Not many people do it that way, but you can control it. Yes, you can control it through Merchant Center.
Okay, and for anybody that's currently using Listing Mirror, you can always use Listing Mirror. We do encourage that. Use Listing Mirror as your main hub. Put your information, if you're not using a third-party service to fulfill your order, fill it and put your order data into Listing Mirror, and we will make sure to push that to Google and to all of your channels so that you aren't having to mess with it and you're not having to open multiple websites in order to get an order filled and out the door.
Yeah, that's definitely the more common practice.
Sure. Let's see here. A few questions about how to get support from Google if you're having issues. What's the best way to get help with your Google Shopping account?
Yeah, so there is, why don't Erin, I will send that over to you. There is a little contact form. That's the best place to go for support. Why don't I send that to you and you can include it in the email?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we're going to stop there. I know that there's a lot of other questions that have come through. What I'm going to do, because we have such a great audience here and so many people with really great questions, I'm going to go ahead and kind of look through the questions and do my best to answer a few more in a follow-up email. So you will get the recording of this if you want to rewatch it or if you want to send it on to other people. We highly encourage you to do that. And I'll also just include a few more bullet points about different things that I think would be valuable to you as well. And then I know Shannon said that she'll make sure that we can get this slide deck too so that you can look through the links and all of that good stuff. So thanks so much, Shannon, for offering this for us today. It's super helpful. And yeah, thanks so much for spending the hour with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me and for all of your participation and enthusiasm. It's great. And I'm happy to help Erin with any of the follow-up questions that we weren't able to get to.